Hello and welcome to this new video. Again, we're going to be doing tactics. So at this point the tactics are getting really tough. Hopefully I don't have to focus too much and I can talk over my thought process. So let's not waste time. As usual, pause the video, try to figure it out yourself, and let's go. So material is about equal. The pawn count, white is a pawn ahead, but what's most important is of course the king. This rook is already cutting off the king, this queen is very close by. We should be aiming for checkmate. White doesn't really seem to have a threat at the moment, everything is guarded. Let's try to checkmate. So what are the candidate moves? Checks, check here, check there, check there, check there. No checks really work. What else? Captures. Can't really capture anything. A2 doesn't seem interesting. Threats. So threats of checkmate perhaps. Queen f4 threatens this, which will be checkmate. Okay, and any other way to threaten checkmate? There is this as well. This also threatens checkmate. Does it threaten anything else? Well, not really. Both moves threaten one thing basically. They also threaten this check, but I don't think this check is getting anywhere. But okay, this and this. Queen e5 and queen f4. Queen c2 also threatens checkmate after a few moves with rook g2, king h1, rook h2, queen g2. So queen c2 is also interesting. Now, what can our opponent do against all of these moves? So we have three candidate moves so far. So queen f4. I think what white can do is exchange queens, and I'm forced to take because it's a check, and after that, of course I can take a pawn or something, but that doesn't seem like a win. So I would not play queen f4, I think. What else? Queen e5. Now this is a big threat. What can he do? So he can't really play f4 because then queen e3, but king h1, surprisingly, it doesn't seem like checkmate yet. Though there, after queen g3, there are multiple checkmates threatened. Can white defend from all of them? I don't think so, because he can give one check. I will go king g8. So after queen e5, I think he cannot play this. But here, queen d4 is a move, which should be considered. Queen d4. Queen d4 wants to exchange queens. What can I do? Check on e1. He can't take because the queen would hang. So after queen e5, queen d4, rook e1. He has to move the king, I guess to f2 for example. And again, I don't really see anything because I'm forced to exchange queens. My queen is pinned to the king. So queen e5 I don't like because of queen d4. What was I also thinking about? Queen c2. So this threatens rook g2. What can white do about this? I don't really see it. Something like knight h3 to stop something. But it doesn't really stop anything. Like queen knight h3, rook g2. He can't go to h1. And if f1, then e2 is made. So queen c2. How is white stopping this threat of checkmate? He can of course give a check, then king g8. The queen on d4 can't really go anywhere because it also has to guard the rook. So I'm pretty sure it's queen c2. But we have to try to find a defense for white. Queen c2. Can he defend the h2 square like queen b? No, wait, the rook is hanging. So the queen can't really go anywhere, actually. So after queen c2, I don't really see a move. It seems like this is correct. Queen c2. Yeah, this is a check, but I didn't really consider this too seriously because we can just take with the rook defending the knight. So, okay. And the interesting one, we had three candidate moves and we found it. Okay. Next one, pause the video, checks, captures, and attacks. What can we do here? So a lot of stuff is hanging. Material wise, we're down a lot. Okay, both queens are hanging. So okay, what's going on? So checks, queen a4, basically no, only check. Captures, queen a4 or bishop takes e4 or knight takes e4 as well. Knight takes e4 looks interesting because knight takes e4. Yes, he has to take the queen, but then I will take both rooks, and at the end I will have a ton of material. Sure, he has like 5 connected passed pawns, but knight and the rook should be enough, right? So knight takes e4. So he can't really take the queen because everything falls. So after knight takes c4, what is he taking on c1? I guess I'm taking with the queen. And again, I have plenty of materials. Now, I don't really see what's wrong with this. Queen a4 is possible, but queen c6 I think will be played. And down material. So let's just take the queen and take all the rooks. Okay, pretty easy one there. Okay, next. Pause the video, find all the checks, find all the captures, and try to figure it out. So, what's going on here? Not much material on the board. This is a pin. A pin is good if we can use it. At the moment, rook d7, queen e8 will happen, and we will lose the rook. So what can we do? Checks, captures, and attacks. Only check is this, basically. There are no captures. Can we threaten anything? We can kind of threaten the queen, but it doesn't really do much. It's just exchanging. We can't threaten the rook as mentioned because of queen to e8. So what can we do? I guess there's just a check, right? So queen c2, okay. What can white do? Well, he has to move the king. If g1 or h1, I think this ends in checkmate because queen d1, queen f1. So he has to go here. What can we do? So again, what are the moves there? We can give this check to c8. I don't really see the point. So after king h3, we can go rook f2 to try to threaten something. What's the threat? The threat is to take on h2, and after king g4, not really sure what the follow-up is, but maybe just generally that's a good position as his king is walking around and it should be quite close to checkmate somehow. So king h3 is forced, rook f2. He has some checks, queen e6, but or rook d8 as well, but after any check I think I go to h7. So queen c2, rook f2, let's say queen e8, king h7. He doesn't really have a follow-up check, and I'm threatening f2, which he cannot really defend. So if rook d8 there, so queen c2, rook f2, d8, king h7, seems similar. Okay, so queen c2 and rook f2, this seems correct. And then he can play g4, I guess, to defend h2, but then I think queen d3 should be quite painful, hopefully, because he cannot play queen g3 because of rook f3. So again, this position here, g4, queen to d3. But actually, rook f3 seems even better because after king h4, g5, king h5, rook h3 is checkmate because the queen guards this square. So this looks correct. I'm not really missing anything, right? There's not really any alternatives, so this has to be right. Rook f2, yeah, he goes here, and of course I go to h7, right? Right. Because he cannot check on this diagonal. And this position is just generally winning because h2 is hanging. This pawn is not really becoming anything. The king safety is the most important thing. So okay, what's next? So pawn endgame. So check all the checks, captures, and attacks as usual. We have no checks here. Pawn endgames are quite technical, but they are quite concrete. So what's going on here? So we're actually down a pawn, but we're supposed to win somehow. One idea is to do some kind of zugzwang, so to take this pawn on e4, right? How can we do this? I guess by playing f6. So after f6, white has a couple of moves. He can start the race by taking this pawn, moving the king and pushing our pawn. I mean the b pawn, while we take these two and go with the f pawn. So let's calculate that. So f6, king c3, king e4, king b3, king e3, king c4, f5, b4, f4, and we will queen with check. So that's not good for white. So here, 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 here. Interestingly, the king doesn't really have a nice square, because for example, if it goes to the a file, then at the end we will have queen a1, queen b1, and taking the queen on b8. Hopefully I show this later. But f6, king c3 take. So if he just goes to d2, we'll just pick up the pawn. So after f6, Of course, important to mention he has these two moves as well. But okay, f6, king c3. Again, let's do the most obvious line first. So c2, I think, is the line. So f5, b4, f4, he takes. In that position, maybe g4 should be played, because otherwise, if we take back king d1, he's kind of in time to stop our pawn. That might be a draw. So f6, king c3, take, f5, let's say king c2. In general, king c2 makes sense to try to catch our f-pawn. So f6, king c3, take, f5. I mean, I guess the move order doesn't matter. King e3, b4. And in that position, f4 takes g4. Then he takes. If king d1, then I guess king f2, and we're queening first with check, but we're not. Okay, this is quite complicated. So f6, here, king c2. What else can we do? Should we just play g4? No, he takes in b4. King f3, b5, not in time. So f6, king c3, here. f5, b4, f4. So the problem with playing g4 there is I think the f-pawn becomes quite fast. So if we recapture, king d1 I think is the problem. King f2 to try to not allow the king to blockade, but then b5 we're not in time. So this doesn't seem to work, the race doesn't seem to work. f6, king c3. What can we do? We have to take king b3. And this doesn't seem to work. But we don't really have any other moves. Like moving the king anywhere doesn't really make much sense. f5 I think is just easily losing. King goes to d4. So it's either f6 or g4 or h4. And if I push one of these pawns, he will push the other pawn and we will have a race again. So which race do we prefer? This is the question. So maybe g4 to try to queen the g pawn. So g4. So if he takes, now it's white to move. And it's kind of zugzwang. He has to play here. We take. And then what? King c2. Maybe then we play f5 and b4, f4. If he takes, b3, b5, here, b6. And then we're winning. So g4. Then if he plays h4, then I guess f6, and we have something similar. He goes there. We take. He takes, king c2, f5. So if he tries to go here, I think we can just exchange and then go with the king to take the b pawn and his king. And we have a connected passed pawn here. So this is kind of complicated. So g4, h4, f6. So firstly, if he goes king d2, for example, we take, he goes king e2. You can try to do this, but then after f5, we get the opposition and we will go either f3 or d3 next. So g4, h4, f6, king c3, king e4. The race has to be calculated. So king d3, king e3, king c2, f5. Yeah, b4. b4 seems lost because of f4. Otherwise, king d1, f4. Yeah, this all seems to work. So I think h4 cannot be played. So here he can take, I guess. We'll take back, but again, this should be quite easily winning. So okay, I think it's g4. Yeah, it's correct. Yeah, and the race begins. It ends quite soon, so this is, I guess, enough for the engine. But yeah, I was calculating some stuff. So the problem with f6 is, I think he goes here, right? Yeah, and apparently, is it winning? Oh, g4 is the problem. I didn't think of this. After h4, king d2, now this is a draw because I don't have a way to give up the move. So I didn't really consider this. So apparently this one is winning with king f3. Okay, I kind of thought about this because this is a draw because of king c2. Okay. Okay. Interesting. So g4. Yes. So if h4, then yes, f6. And in this race, yeah, at this point any move is winning, but the main idea is to go f5, f4, and promote a pawn. Okay, quite difficult one. Okay, that took a while. Okay, let's take a look at this one. So again, we have some kind of endgame, so not really tactics today. What do we have here? Pause the video, try to figure it out. So the standard procedure here would be to go h3. Hopefully queen the pawn after taking this one. There's a couple ways. So after h3, black can either take like this or bring the king. Of course, bringing the king would be fun, but maybe black is not in time. So for example, h3, king d1, king h5. The king can't go to f3, so I think the main idea should be this. Of course, we can also take here and go win this pawn, but I'm not sure that endgame will be winning. If, let's say, his king is on e2, we take this. Doesn't seem to be winning. I think it's a draw. So I think h3 is the only idea here, just logically. So otherwise, white is threatening to just take and eliminate all the counterplay. So h3. Next move is to do this. So what's he doing after h3? He has to bring the king, I guess. The bishop can't really help. So h3, king d1, check, here, here. I mean, seems simple enough. Don't really see what to calculate, because we will just take, we will put the knight on f3 or g4, and then this worst case scenario, we just put the king over on the other side of the board. So I'm not really sure if there's much to calculate. Of course, this is kind of concrete, because after h3, king d1, we have to give the check as soon as possible, because king e2 is threatened. So I'm pretty sure this is the solution. Yeah, let's put the knight on g4, we will pick up this pawn. White can't really do anything in the meantime. Kind of, let's say he goes here. Yeah, he can't even go anywhere. Like anything is winning at this point. We're not threatening to promote yet, but we will just bring the king over here. We will probably win this pawn on e3, and the game is over. So relatively easy there. What's next? Pause the video and try to figure it out. Okay, so we're down a piece at the moment. What can we do about this? So it's clear that we're trying to checkmate somehow, or win some kind of material. So checks, captures, and attacks. Checks, queen h4. This doesn't work. Captures, we can take the rook. We can also take this pawn. Taking this pawn also activates this other rook and also threatens this knight. So now it's interesting, what is he going to do after rook e5? But okay, first, queen h4, the only legal move is queen h6. Now our queen is attacked, don't really see a follow-up there. Right, so queen h4 I don't like. There's no other real check. So we're left with this. Rook e takes e5. I mean, I guess this is also an attack, actually. This threatens the rook. So after rook g1, for example, black, what's black doing? I think he can like play rook g6 or something to defend, and the king will be quite safe. So time is of the essence. So rook here, what's happening? We are threatening, I guess, this check, because we will win the queen. Even there, it's not that clear. So rook e5, well, here actually threatening the knight as well, of course, important to mention. So what are the candidate moves for black? He can take this, I guess. Or what are we taking with? Take with the rook. I'm not really sure if we're threatening anything, actually. Unfortunately, he can play like rook e8 or something. I don't really see it. Maybe we are threatening something. We are threatening queen h4, queen h6. Queen takes f4, but even that, I'm not sure if it's winning. So rook e5, what's happening? He can't take rook e5. Okay, can we take with the queen? Sure we can, but knight g6, I guess. Seems to be defending, so any other moves? I mean, we have to take back with the rook, I guess. But I don't really see our threat, apart from winning the knight, after which we get some kind of equal position. Like, if there's nothing better, we will have to go for this, but surely there must be. Don't really see it. Because if it was black to move, he can play something like knight g6 and he will be fine. Don't really see it. Rook e5 seems like the only move somehow. But he takes. Okay, rook takes g5. So rook e8 as mentioned. Here, here, here. I mean, I guess white is better. I'm actually up quite a few pawns there. Should have counted the pawns. At first we have 7 against 5. So white does have 2 pawns for the knight. So if he wins the knight, it's going to be generally winning. Also, we're taking the third pawn. So okay, this changes the evaluation. So we could take this pawn, and if we win the knight, we're winning. So he, I guess, has to take. I mean, I guess. And then what? In that position, actually rook h5 is a threat, because if he takes, he'll take the queen. So right, so that's actually what we're threatening. This is what I completely missed. So rook e8 is not an option. So what is I going to do there? He can't really do anything, right? I don't see it. He can't move the knight, so I think, yeah, so he can't really take here. That seems winning. So after rook e takes e5, what is the move for black? If he, for example, plays knight g6 now, we are doing what? Exactly, rook h5, king g7. And then rook h7, if he takes, we will discover the queen on d6. So after knight g6 and check, king g7 here, he can't take the rook, but after this there's also this discovery, right? You're right. Should be true. Okay. So rook e5, he can't go knight g6. So what can he do? The threat is quite serious. Rook h5. Don't really see it. Rook g6. We can just take the knight. So the knight is attacked. Yeah, this seems correct enough. Yeah, here I was thinking we give a check. Now I actually see he has this move, but that's checkmate. So we give up the rook. If he takes, then we discover check here and take the queen, and we are winning. So a bit tougher. Okay, and maybe it's enough for today. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it useful. The tactics are getting quite tough. They're almost at the level that I usually do. So hence this is why I'm thinking for longer than usual. So okay, don't forget to subscribe, and see you next time.